I am so honored to come back to Kansas because I am a Kansas girl. I grew up in Tonganoxie. Do you guys know where that is? 3,000 people in Tonganoxie, Kansas. Now, I wasn't born there. I was born in Southern California. My parents got divorced right after I was born. My mom got remarried and moved to Kansas. Now, she moved 20 minutes away from Atchison, Kansas. Who's from Atchison? Of course, Amelia Earhart. And now, I'm not related to Amelia Earhart, but that is my name. My father's last name is exactly the same, spelled the same. And when my mom and dad got married and they found out they were having a little girl, my mom looked at my dad and said, "We've got a really unique opportunity here. We can have a daughter named Amelia Earhart." And my dad said, "That is a terrible idea. She is going to get teased incessantly. Who knows if she's ever going to want to even get close to an airplane? We cannot put that burden on our daughter." Well, of course, Mom won out, because she wanted to give her daughter an inspirational role model, somebody to look up to, and a great tie to history. And also, she wanted to give me a name that nobody would ever forget. Now, that absolutely worked. 10 years ago, I graduated from the University of Colorado in Boulder, got my degree in English literature. In my junior year of college, I got a great opportunity. That was to take my very first discovery flight in a small airplane. It was a Cessna 172. It was the junkiest, ugliest old airplane I had ever seen, and I was scared to death because the airplane instructor that I flew with was a crotchety old man. He didn't even want to look at me, and he saw a woman walking out, and he kind of just rolled his eyes and said, "Here we go." But I'll tell you what, when I lifted off the ground and we were up in the air over Boulder, Colorado, I absolutely fell in love. I like to say it was my love at first flight. So for 10 years, I worked and worked and worked and worked on those ratings. And being the namesake of Amelia Earhart put a little bit of a burden on me. Every single day of my life, I have been asked, number one, are you related? No, so then I explained that. And before I was a pilot, folks would say, well, are you ever going to fly around the world? Well, when every single day people ask you if you're going to fly around the world, something clicks eventually and you go, gosh, I just got to do this. Right, Barrington? So I finally started really thinking about that plan. What would it take to plan and execute a flight around the world in honor of my namesake, to recreate, symbolically complete what she set out to do 77 years ago? I'm going to talk a lot more about that tonight during my speech, exactly what it takes to plan and pull that off. It's a lot of work. It took a year and a half, but it came right down to it. It was all about defining my own personal adventure, determining what my definition of true north was on my personal compass. And there's a big stigma around women in aviation. As we just heard, not everybody thinks that we can fly airplanes. And as I wrap up here, I'll share a quick story with you, something that happened recently in Switzerland. I was at EBACE, which is the European Business Aviation Conference in Geneva, Switzerland. It's very fancy pants. Everybody's walking around in suits and selling multi-million-dollar airplanes. It's an incredible event. And this was about 2 months in advance of the flight around the world. So the PC-12, the Pilatus PC-12NG was the aircraft that I flew. It was on a static display, so sitting outside on an aircraft ramp. Beautiful airplane, sitting out there in the sunshine. And every single day, there's a daily magazine that comes out at the event, and on the cover is a featured story about somebody or some business that's taking place at the conference. They had asked me to do an interview and do a photo shoot next to the airplane. And so, of course, I put on my most beautiful dress, threw on a nice pair of heels, and I stood on the steps of that airplane. Door folds down from the side of the fuselage. It's a very typical shot of a person standing there, you know, just standing next to the plane. And there are 3 or 4 photographers out there snapping away, and a gentleman walks up to me. He says, "Ma'am, I see you taking a picture here. Would you like a pilot in your photo?" And I said, "Excuse me?" He says, "Yeah, well, you're taking a picture next to this pretty airplane. Would you like a pilot with you?" And I said, "Sir, there is a pilot in my photo." And I kid you not, he looked inside the door of the airplane because he thought there was someone else there. I'll tell you what, it felt so good to look that gentleman in the eye and say, "Sir, In less than 2 months, I'm going to fly this very airplane all the way around the world. And without another word, he just walked away. And at that moment, I realized something very important that goes to the core of exactly who I am and exactly who every single person in this room is. There is nothing more satisfying than exceeding others' expectations of yourself. So keep that in mind as you listen to the speakers, as you build relationships and meet new friends, as you head out to the hangar. You have the opportunity within the aviation world to exceed others' expectations of what they think that you can do. So just keep that in mind today. Thank you.